Welcome back to the Cricket Today podcast on Thursday, January 25. Excited for another huge couple of days in cricket. I'm your host, Liam McCallion, also known as the Stats Guy. I'm here with Marcus Barzano, fresh off a live stream debut. So that was good fun last night. Thanks to all that tuned into our live stream, Cricket Today live stream for the Big Bash Final. How you going, Marcus?
I'm going great. I think I'm all skittled out though. So if you haven't checked the end of that live stream, you might have to.
Yeah, look, this doesn't look pretty when we're stuffing Skittles in our mouths, but I did get a wicket ball, or whatever we were calling it last night, lollyball. That was good fun. We're also here with Liam Mullally, fresh off a big party, and was nowhere to be seen on the live stream. How you going, Liam?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Stats Guy. I just have one thing to say to you all. I told you so. Heat were going to win it from day one.
I was the only one who tipped it from day one. Oh, the Heat hater over here saying he was going to pick him. That's a joke. I was happy I tipped him.
Didn't Leo say that the Heat weren't going to win a game this season?
Yeah. No, I said that they would win every game this season. So
well, you're wrong both ways. You're wrong both. We'll have to find that clip. I reckon the Heat won't win a game.
No, that clip's lost. That clip got lost.
No, I'm just getting word in. Yeah, Gerald goes. Yeah, but he's already clipped it up. Ready to go. That was an awesome final last night. But we've also got some more heaps of cricket ahead. So awesome final. The Heat obviously got the job done, which was absolutely awesome. Underdogs because of the Sixers' experience and being at the SCG, sell-out crowd, magenta everywhere. So that was an awesome effort that we'll get into in this show about the Heat. They got their second ever BBL title, which is an awesome effort. Just a little fun fact, Darren Lehman, the coach, was coaching that same team, the Heat, in the other title in BBL 03, I believe, or 2,
I think.
BBL 02, that's right. Yeah, so that was an awesome effort that he's still coaching. And then we're pumped for the second Australia versus West Indies test. If you watch it on YouTube, I've gone full Nuffy mode. I've got the old Australia kit on with the 3 logo. I love this kit. I got the badge on, the closest I'll get to ever playing for Australia and anything. So I've got the full Nuffy kit on. So today we're going to cover that Big Bash final wrap. We're going to you can listen to an awesome interview with one of the best in the business, Code Sports journalist Daniel Cherny, that I did. So that's going to be in the middle of the show where we cover lots of things about Australia, West Indies, some best BBL moments, and then a prediction for the upcoming test. And then we're going to do our own full test preview for this Australia versus West Indies test match. So let's get into it, lads. BBL final wrap. I'm absolutely pumped. The Heat won. I was talking them up all season, and they got the job done somehow. What was the scores for us there, Leo?
Yeah, good to get something right for you, Stats Guy. First time for everything.
If we went through the tips on online, I reckon I was well ahead of this show.
No. Anyway, the Heat, 8 for 166 batting first. I think we checked the score and I thought, that would be enough with the bowling they had. I didn't think they would make that much with the bat, but Josh Brown backing it up with a sort of a slow 50 by his standards, which is good to see a bit of maturity. And then Abbott was the main man with the ball, 4 for 32 for the Sixers. Benny Dorshus let me down a little bit last night. It wasn't his best game, but Sean Abbott led the way there. And then the Sixers, they just sort of crumbled, didn't they? 112 all out. Didn't bat the full overs, and just the rise of, I guess, Spencer Johnson the past couple games. He's been extraordinary. He started the tournament, I feel, a little bit out of form.
Yeah.
But his last, I want to say 5-6 games, he's been incredible. One of the, probably better than Bartlett in the past 5-6 games. And I think that shows that he, I guess, has the capability to play at a higher level if he's willing to improve mid-tournament, because not many people can do that. Once you're in a rut, you normally stay in the rut in such a short tournament. So, kudos to him for turning it around.
Yeah, we talked about Spencer Johnson in the last year. That was my lollyball. I picked him to get a wicket, so thanks for that, SJ. We talked him up about it. He's not that far behind, or if on par with Bartlett. I think Bartlett got picked, obviously, in the ODI squads. Johnson's pretty stiff that they didn't pick it maybe next week, because if they picked it next week, he might have been picked in the T20 squad or the ODI squad. We were also talking about on a podcast a couple of weeks ago when he got picked up in the IPL for that ridiculous amount of money. I'm not saying he's worth that amount of money, but his career projection at the moment, I know he's not the youngest guy, but he's just going up and up and keeps getting better. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, for some white ball cricket for a show, which would be pretty cool.
Yes, we were talking last night in the live stream that Spencer Johnson took 4, and then he went 1 wicket ahead of Xavier Bartlett for the most wickets in the comp, and then Bartlett took the last 2 wickets in the final over of the match, and then finished 1 ahead of Spencer Johnson. So I think it was a bit of friendly rivalry there. Bit of bragging rights.
They would have been talking about that after a few years. I saw some of the celebrations. They had some chants going on. They were wrecking the Sydney change room, so the Sixers won't be, SCG won't be happy, but they were having a good time in the heat. All right, I don't know who actually is doing this one, but Slog of the Night, who wants to read that one out? I think this one's pretty obvious who made the most runs as well. So who's got that one?
Got to be Josh Brown. Again. 53 off 38 balls. He sort of needed it after they lost a wicket in the first over. They needed someone to settle, and it was in the end it was a match-winning partnership that he had with McSweeney. And he hit a couple nice sixes off his pads, but the sixes they didn't really bowl back of a length too much or a bit wider on the offside to Josh Brown, but he made the most of it and got his half century in the biggest game of the season.
Yeah, he was awesome. That Slog of the Night, just the slick. If you bowl leg stumping full to Josh Brown, he's sending it off his pads into the night sky. It was awesome to watch. I'm going to go Jaffer of the Night. I've literally just one ball was awesome. Mitch Swepson on the live stream, we were going nuts for it. Swepson bowling to Silk, I believe, spun it an absolute mile off middle stump, all the way outside off. Got the stumping, and Silk's just like, geez, I didn't think it was going to spin that much. Spun a mile. It was an absolute peach. We were up and about watching that last night, and I think that was one of the balls of the last couple of weeks. It was an amazing ball. Swepson, I think he was stiff not to play last game, and with balls like that against Silk, who we've talked up a lot, he's a solid player that usually gets you 20 or 30. He got him out for a duck and had him in all sorts. So yeah, definitely Mitch Swepson for the Jaffer of the Night for me. Then what are you finishing off with there, Leo?
Well, it's not really a moral victory of the night, but I wanted to mention it because I thought it was incredible. Michael Neese's catch, second last wicket for the Sixers, just sky ball on the boundary. Neese is basically collapsing to the ground, and last ditch effort gets rid of it. Somehow nothing's touching the rope.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, that is an awesome catch. He's a great fielder, been terrific this whole tournament in the field. As I said, it's not really a moral victory, is it? It's just a victory. And I think I just wanted to shout it out more than anything.
Well, he could do a victory in a victory. So it's like a moral victory for Nisa. He can be talking about it in the rooms while they're celebrating. Did you see that catch? He's probably got it up on his phone on Fox Cricket, posted it. So that was all. I think Marcus said that. He's like, sure. We were saying on the live stream last night, we didn't know how the hell he kept that in. All of his body weight was heading towards that boundary. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? Like, I don't know how his hand didn't touch it or even his knee. It's just weird. He sort of like pulled his body back. It was sort of in slow motion a little bit.
Yeah, no, it was. It was absolutely crazy. So the Heat, BBL13 title winners, I don't think any of us picked that at the start. I think I tipped the Sixers. You guys tipped the Scorchers. We were on the Heat bandwagon the last couple of weeks. We're all on the Heat bandwagon on the live stream last night, except for Leo, but that's all right. But yeah, we were up and about. Very excited. That bit of an underdog win, I reckon, because there's a lot of young guys on that Heat team. The batting lineup wasn't that good, but they got the job done, and yeah, so that was awesome. Get around the Brisbane Heat and check that out on the socials. We'll chuck some more stuff up about that. All right, just a bit of a different one in our show. We've got an interview. Got a bit of professionalism than our usual knuckleheads. I said during the interview yesterday. So I'm going to. Coming up is an interview with Daniel Cherny, is one of the best in the business, Code Sports journalist, covers AFL, AFLW, and of course cricket. So he's up in Brisbane covering the test match between Australia and the West Indies. And we went through a lot of things, including why the West Indies are getting bowled out so easy. Do the Aussies need to work on their finishing off their bowling, and then some predictions and a bit of a fun game to end. So check that out right now with Daniel Cherny and the Stats Guy. Cricket today with a special segment. Rather than the usual knuckleheads, we've brought in some professionalism. I'm here with Daniel Cherny, cricket, AFL, AFLW sports journalist at Code Sports, one of the best in the business, who's up and about in Brisbane, actually, currently ahead of the second test. How you going, Dan? Thanks for joining us.
No, good to be with you, Liam. All well yourself?
Yeah, really, really good. Very excited for the test match coming up. Hopefully it's a bit of a longer one, but we'll see how we go. What'd you make of the last tests? It felt like the Aussies obviously were going to dominate, but West Indies weren't too bad. Yeah,
it's funny. I mean, we talk about how quickly the test was finished inside 7 sessions, but it does take two to tango there. And if it was, the really one-sided tests are never over that quickly because, one team bats for, Australia. And certainly last summer when the West Indies were here, they batted for a couple of days consecutively in Perth and then in Adelaide as well. Excuse me. Sorry. But but obviously the West Indies did really well with the ball. Shamar Joseph was probably the story of the test as much as anyone.
Definitely.
On debut, incredible story, incredible backstory. Guy from this remote Guyanese village of Barracara.
Unbelievable.
Only played 5 first-class matches, was bowling with a tape ball a couple of years ago. Just ridiculous. And to get Steve Smith first ball, the way he slogged there late on day one. But having said that, look, it's funny because Australia were 5 for 137, I think.
It was close at that point, 100%, yeah.
Still 50-odd in arrears, and then Travis Head sort of took the game away. Yeah. And look, once they got to a lead of almost 100, it was, the Windies were always up against it. But from there, they probably needed to take a first innings lead if they were going to have any chance. Yeah, and just their batting was just folded so easily. Really, helpful bowling conditions for sure, and that's been a bit of a trend across all Australian venues of recent times. But by the same token, they just don't look up to a very inexperienced lineup. And Australia, the bowling obviously is at the other extreme where during that test, Josh Hazlewood passed 250 test wickets, which means that all 4 of them have that mark. And obviously, Nathan Lyon went past 500 earlier this summer. So, it's a huge, we've got huge numbers there. And, in the end, it probably turned out as expected.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely spot on there. Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. West Indies were in the game for a bit. Trav Ball took over, and it was still a really fun test, that's for sure. Before we get into the second test, I might quickly touch on the big bash of the season we've just had. I saw you write some articles. Awesome. Sutherland got a call up into the ODI squad. Good to see some BBL players getting rewarded. Before we get into the test stuff, I just wanted to ask you, what's your favourite BBL moment of the season, Dan? I think there's been a lot. I think it's been a really good season. A bit of a resurgence on the Big Bash, especially with TV viewers. Even crowds have been pretty solid. So I've been at a really fun season with that. What's your favourite moment of the season, though?
I mean, it's one of those comps where, it's often the quirky things that really catch your eye. But I must say that finish between the Scorchers and the Sixers late in the season when they were both vying for a top 2 finish, just an incredible finish, incredible game, high scoring, packed house, sort of had everything you really wanted on both sides. So it was an exceptional match of cricket, exceptional game of cricket, and really the Big Bash at its best. And whatever you say about WA and their parochial fans, I mean they do get behind their team.
They turn up, yeah.
They turn up, and I don't know what that says about the WA sporting psyche, but they really do get behind their teams, and they they're just. They've been so crucial for the competition. So that was an incredible finish, and the Sixers getting it done. And in the end, that's been a really important result in the way the season's unfolded. The Sixers did get that double chance. They used it. They beat Brisbane, hosting the final, and the Scorchers were eliminated in the match against the Strikers.
No, I love that call. That game was absolutely awesome. 2 of the best teams of the last, 5 to 10 years just dominating the Big Bash, coming together to try and make that top spot. Yeah, that's a really good one. All right, let's get into the Windies taking on Australia in the second test in Brisbane, where you're at up there in Brisbane. You mentioned it before about the Windies batting. They're definitely struggling in that top to middle order. The tail was doing all the work. Where do you reckon they're getting it wrong with the bat? And should they recall Brian Lara? I saw him in the nets in Adelaide last week. He looked pretty solid, even though he's 50 years old. So taking having a bit of a laugh there. But what are they doing with the bat? They're getting it wrong, just especially that top order.
I don't know. You look at the first-class records of these guys, and that's it's not as though they have a lot to call on. I'm not sure there's too many. I can't say I follow the West Indies first-class system all that closely, but from what I can tell, it's not as though there are a lot of guys banging down the door any more than the guys that they've selected. They sort of are picking the best that they have available. They're obviously hamstrung by the absence of the likes of Jason Holder and Kyle Mayers, guys playing, guys overseas playing in some of these T20 competitions in South Africa and the UAE, which clearly means that they're picking from a weakened pool, diluted pool. Perhaps there's an issue where a lot of their most promising cricketers sort of tend to prioritise T20 white balls as opposed to the red ball. I think the other thing is the pitches there in the Caribbean are so different to the ones you see in Australia. And I think maybe historically Australian fans have had a bit of a warped view of West Indies cricket and pitches. You think because of their famed fast bowlers in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you think they're a fast bowling nation region. Yep. The truth of the matter is the pitches there really favour spin. I mean, they are very spin-friendly decks. Definitely. And if you look at the numbers in their first-class cricket, they've got the guys there, they're averaging. There's a lot of spinners averaging some very, very low numbers with the ball, and I don't think that prepares you overly well for a Test tour of Australia. They just don't. And every time Craig Brathwaite, their captain, or senior representatives are asked, what can we do to help? I mean, there's many things, and funding is clearly a big part of it.
Funding, of course, yeah.
But the other thing is just that they don't play that much Test cricket, full stop. So it means it's staccato. So you're playing a couple of tests here and a couple of tests 5 months down the track in different conditions, and how do you build, how do you improve when it's all over the shop like that? So there's no silver bullet, and it makes it very hard.
No, you're right. Especially funding, obviously, a lot of people talk about. But then, like you just said, they haven't played a test since July last year. I had a look at the other day. So this is that was like their first test match for a long time. And when you're doing like that, it's definitely tough to just come into the different format. You're spot on there. All right, we'll go into the next one. What do the Aussies need to do to stop the opposition tail from wagging? Obviously, a bit frustrating with Pakistan and the West Indies this summer. Both their 10 and 11s have had 40-run partnerships across both series. It's really strange. Usually you got Stark who can clean it up. Maybe just need to bowl it at the stumps more. I don't know if it's that simple. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a lingering issue. It sort of raised its head during the Ashes. There were I know there was a lot of frustration from Australian fans and some of the pundits around how they bowling to the tail, and you're a little short ball tactics and strategy to try to bounce out the tail, and and England's tail really wagged. I mean, look, arguably turned the series. Mark Wood, when he whacked those sixes straight after lunch on day 2, I think it was at
you're right,
Headingley. So that was and then that sort of faded away a little bit, but then it sort of come back here with these tests against those last couple against Pakistan and the West Indies. I mean, I think it's hard to know. Could it just be an anomaly? I mean, interestingly, we asked Josh Hazlewood about it during the test in Adelaide, and he sort of laughed it off. And look, it's easy to laugh it off when you're winning, they're not. It's not a huge issue for them, but maybe it's as simple as they're not doing enough homework on these guys to find out that you put all your eggs into one basket. Maybe it's just a complete aberration and an anomaly, and it'll even itself out over time. A guy like Shamar Joseph, for instance, slogging it to the death. I mean, they just have. There's so little footage available of him batting.
True.
They don't know his. And they do. These guys, the team, they do a lot of analysis, but you can sort of only do the analysis with the data that you have available. And for a guy like Shamar Joseph, they've seen a little bit of him bowl and that, but he's played so little cricket that where his strong zones, where his weak zones, hard to know. So look, it's an interesting one. I think it's another one where it's not, not panic stations by any stretch, but just one to keep an eye on, I think, during this test. And if it happens again, I think, 3 times in a row, you think, maybe there's something to this.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. If it happens again, it could be a worry in future series where it could come back to bite us, where they could make a bigger score. They've made a bigger score before that. You're right about Shamar Joseph. I don't think they have any footage of him in the backyard with his tape tennis ball or anything like that. So it makes it a bit tough. All right, so we've done a few questions there. Let's get into a prediction for the match. How many days do you reckon? It's only obviously 2 and a bit, last one, and a player you're excited to watch. So what's your prediction? Yeah, how many days? And who's one to watch in this one, do you reckon, Dan?
I actually think it'll go 5 because of the rain.
Yep.
There's a lot of rain around. It's pretty bad. Yeah. There's cyclones. Talk of cyclones in Queensland. It's pretty heavy storms. So I think double check that, but I think it's a pretty bad. There's pretty heavy rain ahead in short, in Queensland type extreme rain. So I think it'll go. I think Australia will get it done, but it might take them a bit longer than they would have otherwise hoped because of the weather. It'll be interesting to see, whether because of that Australia's play the game a bit differently. I imagine they'll probably send the Windies in again, pink ball, etc. And player I'm excited to watch. I'm very interested to see. I suppose it's 2 players, but Steve Smith and Cameron Green again in their spots, particularly Cameron Green. I think he, he's got a bit to prove still, and he ended up having an impact on that match in Adelaide, despite failing with the bat, because he took a couple of great catches at Gully
amazing in there, and
took a wicket. But ultimately, they've said they feel he's one of the second selectors. This is say he's one of their best 6 batters, and in the country, which is a lot of high praise. and he's got to sort of back that up. So interested to see how he goes.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with you on that one. I talked to him up the last test. I think the spotlight definitely is on, obviously, Smith opening, Cam Green in at 4. So I'm excited to see how he goes. Hopefully he can make some runs, because I think he's still got, obviously, the potential. Everyone's around him, but he does need to make some runs, especially against a poorer West Indies side if he wants to hold his spot for the later series. Don't mind that. I think you could be right with the weather in Australia versus West. I think we're going to get the job done. But yeah, you're right. It could take a bit longer, especially if there's cyclones around. Let's finish off this segment. We like to do a blind ranking on the show sometimes. So I haven't told you which players I'm going to read out, but I want you to give me 1 to 5 or any order when I read these players out. I'm going to do some of the best Aussie fast bowlers of all time. And I don't mind, if you don't mind, can you just give me a 1 to 5, Dan? All right. So I'll start with the first one off the rank is Dennis Lilly. Where would you put him 1 to 5?
Okay, so I don't know who the other 5 are.
No, you don't know who it's a blind one, so it makes it a bit funny. So you could go really big at the start, or So it is the best fast bowlers of all time. So you probably know most of them.
All right. With DK, I'm going to put him up at number 2.
2, yeah. No, I rate that. Then we got Pat Cummins.
4.
4, yeah. Brett Lee.
5.
5. Ooh. Jeff Thompson.
Ooh. Well, if I had a chance again, I'd have him ahead of. I'd have him behind Cummins.
Yeah, it makes it tough.
But 3.
3, yeah. And then we're finishing off with Glenn McGrath.
1.
Oh, you've done pretty well there, I reckon.
If I had my time again, just Cummins and Tomo would be the only 2 I'd switch, but the rest I'm comfortable with.
No, I think you've done really well. We usually stuff them up and have them all over the shop. So no, very happy with that. I think you've done really well there. I think that's it. Check out Daniel Cherny on Code Sports, some great articles in the lead up to this test, and also on Twitter as well at Daniel Cherny, which we get around that. And thanks heaps for coming on, Dan. I'm very excited for the test match coming up.
No, pleasure, Liam, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Let's get right back into the usual Cricket Today show. All right, welcome back to our usual Cricket Today show with the lads, Marcus and Leo. Thank you very much to Daniel Cherny for that interview. Good insights that we don't often get, and it was good fun. He's up in Brisbane, so check him out, Code Sports journalist, all of his articles, and Twitter at Daniel Cherny. Let's get into our own test preview for Australia versus the West Indies Brisbane night test match. I hadn't mentioned that before. It's a day-nighter, which we absolutely love. They're always very exciting. You got a yeah, nah, which we also love on the show, Marcus. What do you got for us?
I sure do, lads. And it's Australia missing out on an opportunity to give experience to others.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think they are. So that's a yes from me. But I think we've seen the past year or so that we're really staunch on playing our best when we can and playing the best bowling lineup, the best batting lineup. So when it comes to big tournaments, we win them. So it is frustrating to see, I guess, guys like Lance Morris not get a gig when we want him to be unleashed. But at the end of the day, it's, I guess, what we need to do to perform in these big tournaments, these big test series. So, yeah, I would say yes, but I can understand the reasoning why we're not.
I know what you're saying, Leo, but I'm going to say nah. I know that you sort of want younger guys to come through and get a bit more experience, but I feel like in any form, it's the highest level. So you talked about the tournaments. You got to play your best team. The best team is still a lot of those older guys. Obviously, our bowling attack is still killing it. They're all over 250 wickets now, still getting fifers each. Like Hazelwood's still getting fifers. Obviously, Cummins still is. I think it's not too bad that the younger guys aren't coming in really young. You've got bowlers now, especially for Australia, that are playing well into their 30s. Whereas in the past, a fast bowler wouldn't get past 30. So I think even if that, just say Lance Morris, how old would he be now? Is he 24 or something?
I would say mid-20s.
Yeah, let's have a look. He's 25. So I know that's getting a little bit older, but even if he comes in when he's 26, 27, he's going to have still, if he's really good, a long test career because of the conditioning and the way they handle the players now. So I don't think it's too bad. The one thing I'm worried about is the experience some young batters have, because once our core batsmen do retire, where we could be stuffed, because I'm not seeing many young guys coming through. But I think you got to pick your best team no matter what. Like, just say Nathan Lyon's putting his hand up, you got to pick him. If Hazelwood's putting his hand up, you got to pick him. They're in the best 11. So I'm going to say no on that one. Stuff given experience, just pick your best team. You're trying to win every match. So that's what I'm going for. What are you leaning towards on that one for yourself, Marcus?
It's tough. I'm on the fence.
You can't be on the fence.
If anything, I'd say no, because I am a big advocate of, you have to put your best team out there to represent your country. Like you shouldn't take that for granted, representing your country on the global stage. So I do think if you got your best players in there, you get them in. But also at the same time, I think even we talked about the batting, Steve Smith opening the batting. I feel like it was a good opportunity to bring Cam Bancroft back into the team and reward him for form.
Yeah.
Instead of just trying to fit Green in there and then move Smith up, and it was all a bit of a shambles. But I'm on the fence, but I'll lean towards no.
Okay, no, fair enough. I agree. You got to pick your best team. What's the next one we got? I'll read this one out. What can the Windies do to make this more of a contest? Obviously, they were in the match for a bit when they had the Aussies 5 down, and then Trav Ball obviously took over. So they were in the match for a little bit, but obviously, they need to be a bit better with the bat. What do you guys? I'll start with you, Leo. What do you reckon they can do a bit more to make this a bit closer, or do they have no chance?
Well, they impressed me with the ball.
Yeah.
Maybe Australia were underwhelming with the bat because, I expected Australia to make 400, 450 plus, to be honest. So the fact that we didn't, they were able to pull it back nicely and I guess make it somewhat close in that regard. It's just with the bat. They need to not only find ways to dig in and outlast, but they need to do 2 things, in my opinion. One is to try and rotate the strike a bit more. Teams struggle to do that when
definitely
Cummins and Hazelwood are always at you. You've got to find ways to just get a quick single, get down the other end, try and do that as often as possible. But then you also, I think the other thing that they probably need to do is they probably just need to find, I guess, a partnership somewhere. I think you look at their tail end.
They were going all right, yeah.
They found a partnership somewhere, right? That's what they did. It was out of nowhere. No one expected it. If they can just get that maybe a little bit higher up the order, and you never know, and then the tail does what they do, maybe it's a little bit more of a game, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. If they can get that partnership going, it's just a tough one in the day-night test. I doubt they've played a day-night test before with that pink ball. They might struggle with the bat when, our bowlers can swing an absolute mile with under the lights. It might be tough, but it'll be interesting to see, and it'll still be fun to watch. What do you reckon with the Windies, Marcus?
Yeah, I'm really fearful actually for the West Indies batting lineup coming up for this day-night test because, as you mentioned, the ball's going to be moving a lot more than it was in the day test. And I just think the West Indies batsmen, they're not used to facing this quality of bowling, this pace of bowling in their first-class cricket back home. So it'll take a bit of time to adjust to facing the best in the world and possibly one of Australia's best ever bowling lineups. So I'm really fearful for the West Indies. I don't think that I think 150 less could be on the cards in the first inning.
No, I'll agree with you on that one. If this was during the day, I feel like they actually built a bit of experience and built a bit of confidence from the last test, even though they did get smashed. But yeah, this is a day-night. This is a whole different ball game. They don't play test cricket much, let alone a day-night test. It's going to be tough for them. All right, this might be pretty obvious with our prediction, but we're going to go prediction and player of the match, lads. We'll start with you, Leo. You're up the top there.
Yeah, I think Australia will win easy. And my player of the match, I'm going to go with Travis Head. I would have said Mitchell Starc, but I see one of you's already taken him. So I just think with Travis Head, he averages 70 at the Gabba.
Yep.
He obviously made that awesome Ashes ton. When was that? A few years back now. I just think he's the man with the bat that did it in the first test. I think he's likely to do it again.
Yeah, no, good call. And I reckon he's one of those guys that even though if it is swinging, he can sort of hit through the line a little bit and hit some boundaries. What about you, Marcus?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna take Mitchell Starc, and obviously I think Australia are going to win. His pink ball record is phenomenal, and even though I'm not the biggest advocate of Mitchell Starc, I definitely prefer the more traditional Josh Hazelwood and Test matches, but it's just the perfect storm for him. I think at the moment, a day-night test in Brisbane. With the pink ball against a batting lineup that's really struggling at the moment in Australian conditions. So Mitchell Starc, for me, I think will win the player of the match.
Yeah, you said his stats. I'll bring you, as the stats guy, I'll bring some more stats to us. Mitchell Starc has 61 wickets at an average of 18 in day-night tests with that pink ball. And then you got Pat Cummins, not as many wickets, but an insane average. Pat Cummins has 33 wickets at an average of 15. So you got some guys that are going to absolutely tear through this poor West Indies batting lineup. So I feel for them a little bit. But like you said, Stark loves. He hasn't been in the best form, but he's gonna tear it up probably with that ball. I'm gonna go Australia obviously as well. I think this could go. We haven't talked about it, but the weather's looking pretty bad, as Daniel Cherny mentioned in our interview. There could be cyclones around the area, so it's not good. Not the best conditions for cricket when you got cyclones or storms and things like that. So it could go 4 or 5 days just because of on and off. They're going to be on and off the next couple of days. So hopefully we get a lot of cricket in. So I'm going to go Australia, and then I'm going to go Josh Hazlewood simply because he was absolutely robbed last test that he did not get man of the match. How do you get 9 wickets in a match? We were talking about it on the live stream last night. How do you get 9 wickets in a match and not get man of the match? I feel like a bowler, that's better than 9 wickets in a match is better overall than 100. It just obviously Travis Head got the man of the match. So I reckon Hazlewood is going to be angry that he won't be angry. He's a very somber sort of guy, but I think, he'll be fired up, especially with the pink ball as well. He's got a pretty good record. He's got, 32 wickets at an average of 19, which is awesome as well. So I think it'll be one of our bowlers that is going to get man of the match, and I'm going to lean towards Hazlewood because he absolutely tore him up in the last test. All right, that's a big show. That was absolutely awesome. BBL Final wrap. We had Dan Cherny from Code Sports, and then we had our own bit of test preview. So that's it for the Cricket Today show. We'll be back with this tomorrow to continue on about the second test between Australia and the West Indies. To get right around the show, subscribe on your podcast apps, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Like and review it, would you? Chuck a follow to Cricket Today and Cricket Today AU all over the socials. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Check out Football Today and Football Today Pod, Football Today AU on the socials and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. We've got another show coming up for some EPL, FA Cup that's coming up. We can talk about the AFL Cup because Chelsea are in the final somehow, so we're loving that as Chelsea fans. Send in any questions via the socials, anything you want us to chat to us about. That's it, I think. Thank you, Marcus.
Cheers, Tasco.
Actually, I want to know how many Skittles have you eaten since you were on the way home last night?
Oh, none. I'm all skittled out, mate.
Yeah, so I'm sick of Skittles. And thank you very much, Leo.
Thanks, that's guy.
Thanks, Gerald, for producing. Awesome effort last night as well, Gerald. Thanks to me, and that's another episode of Cricket Today done. We're out.